Billionaire's son broke down at dinner, then the waitress revealed a hidden truth that changed everything. Adam Thompson's world felt like it was collapsing. The laughter and soft jazz music swirled around him, enveloping him in the cacophony of a bustling upscale restaurant in New York City. He sat at the lavish table, surrounded by his parents, their voices echoing with pride as they recounted yet another milestone, another triumph that seemed to elevate their illustrious family name. Each boast stung like a hot knife, slicing through the fabric of his being. The weight of the Thompson legacy pressed heavy on his chest, and Adam felt the suffocating grip of his last name suffocating the very identity he struggled to grasp. The extravagant chandelier above sparkled like his family's wealth, excessive and blinding. As his parents boasted about their achievements, he felt adrift, consumed by an existential dread. Raised in luxury, the stories of hard work and humble beginnings from his grandparents rang in his ears, tales that felt like echoes of a life he'd never truly experienced. The contrast was stark and cold, as if fire had met ice. Did he belong here at this table, wrapped in an enigmatic fortune that was not his own? A question he wrestled with each passing day, and yet the desire for genuine connection tangled within him, flaring into a relentless ache. Adam cleared his throat, the tension building like a tapestry of nerves. The lavish banquet before them seemed almost grotesque in the face of his turmoil. He could no longer suppress the emotions swirling deep within, thoughts racing through his mind like a jumbled storm. The accolades felt like a noose tightening around his neck. The laughter around him faded until all that remained was the throbbing pulse of his isolation. And then, without warning, it happened. Tears spilled over, streaking down his cheeks, as he grimaced under the sudden wave of vulnerability. The table fell silent, all eyes were on him, disbelief etched across their features. In the heart of the moment, a young waitress named Maria emerged from the shadows. She slipped through the hum of the crowd, her presence almost unnoticed by the revelers, but Adam felt the warmth of her empathy as she stepped closer. "I've seen battles," she said, her voice piercing the thick tension like a beacon. Her hand rested softly on his shoulder, grounding him as she recounted working for Adam's grandfather during his own struggles, the sleepless nights and the fierce determination that birthed their sprawling empire. Her voice was steady, honest, a thread of connection woven into the fabric of his heritage. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Her story resonated, echoing within Adam's core like a reflection of the values he realized he longed to embrace. As he braced himself against the onslaught of expectation from his family, he began questioning everything he thought he knew. The dichotomy of privilege and struggle unfolded before him, laying bare the truth he had avoided for far too long. Did it mean he had to abandon the world they had built, or could he find a way to honor it while being true to himself? Caught in the crossfire of ambition and authenticity, Adam's heart ached with a desperate longing for direction. The silence stretched, a weighted pause where layers of familial expectation intertwined with the rawness of genuine connection. The unresolved conflict enveloped him like a fog, forcing him to confront the truth of his lineage as a weighty choice loomed on the horizon, one that could either cement his role within the Thompson fortress or shatter the barriers finally separating him from who he truly wanted to be. Adam sat in the plush armchair of his penthouse, staring blankly at the sprawling Manhattan skyline. The city glimmered like a vast sea of potential, yet he felt adrift, buoyed only by uncertainty. It had been a week since that fateful dinner, and the echoes of Maria's words still reverberated in his mind. They were more than just a moment of compassion, they had ignited a flicker of resolve within him, urging him to redefine what it meant to be a Thompson. Late nights led him deeper down the rabbit hole of his family's legacy. The archives he had avoided were filled with stories of hard-won triumphs, filled with names and dates that painted a picture of gritty determination. But it was the gaps, the silences in the history of the Thompsons, that haunted him the most. He was acutely aware that the lavish surroundings in which he was raised masked a deeper narrative, one where sacrifice and resilience had paved the way for the lifestyle he now lived. The very next morning, Adam made an impulsive decision. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone, searching through contacts until he found Maria's number. The regret and apprehension that had clouded his mind for a week felt like a distant memory as he dialed. "Maria, it's Adam," he answered after a few rings, his voice steadier than he expected. "I was hoping to meet and talk more about what you shared the other night." 2 days later, they met at a modest coffee shop, an unassuming place buzzing with local patrons. The contrast to his usual surroundings felt grounding to Adam. As he approached the table where Maria sat, he found her smile disarming. She exuded warmth and a sense of pride that reminded him of the values his grandfather held dear. "Thanks for coming," he said, sliding into the chair opposite her. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee surrounded them, and as they exchanged pleasantries, he couldn't help but analyze her demeanor. She carried herself with an authenticity he found refreshing, stripped of pretense, a trait he had begun to crave. "What did you want to discuss?" she asked, her tone curious. "I've been thinking about what you said about my grandfather and the grit behind the family business. I want to understand," he replied, his resolve crystallizing. "Not just the success, but the challenges. The reality of building something that lasts." Maria nodded thoughtfully. "It wasn't glamorous. Long hours, failures, and sacrifices. But they never lost sight of why they started. Know your roots. They matter more than you think." Each revelation felt like stepping stones guided him closer to his own identity. He realized that knowing his family's trials wasn't just an act of honoring them, it was an opportunity for him to chart a new course that married legacy with authenticity. The desire to explore entrepreneurship started to swell within him, a vision he once suppressed. "I want to do something meaningful," Adam admitted, the words leaving his mouth with surprising clarity. "Something that aligns with who I am, not just my last name." Maria's eyes lit up with encouragement. "Then do it. Use your position to create change. Find a cause that speaks to you, and integrate it into your family's brand. You have an opportunity to blend privilege with purpose." In that small coffee shop, Adam began formulating a plan for what felt like a new life. The intensity of the ambience amplified his emotions, forcing him to confront not just who he was but who he wanted to be. Could he truly create a legacy built not solely on wealth but on the values of integrity and social responsibility? With each passing moment, his determination solidified, expanding to encompass both professional ambition and personal growth. It was a transformative decision, yet it came with undeniable weight. As they talked about ideas and possibilities, he felt the sting of potential resistance from his family, the looming shadow of tradition lurking behind every ambitious step he wished to take. The thought raced through his mind. The time had come to face not just his own doubts but the expectations of his family, a confrontation that seemed inevitable. "Do you think I can actually make a difference?" he asked, his voice betraying a flicker of vulnerability. She smiled, a knowing glimmer in her eyes. "You must first believe you can." As Adam walked back into the bustling streets of New York, a mixture of trepidation and excitement washed over him. He was ready to confront the daunting task ahead, the fusion of his desires and his family's expectations, and change the course of the Thompson legacy. But with growth comes challenge, and the first test was approaching. He knew he would have to sit down with his parents soon, a conversation he had been dreading but now felt necessary. The stakes had never been higher, and he was about to journey into a confrontation that would define what it truly meant to be Adam Thompson. Adam stood in front of the large mahogany dining table, the room dimly lit and draped in family portraits that seemed to watch him with disapproval. His heart pounded as he rehearsed the speech crafted during hours of contemplation. Every fiber of his being was unwilling to revisit the comforts of superficiality that his family embraced without question. Today, he sought not just approval but understanding, a bridge to connect his aspirations with their expectations. "Are you ready?" his mother asked, her pleasant expression faltering as she noticed his evident tension. He scarcely registered her words, lost instead in thoughts of how they would react when he shared his vision. "Let us sit down," he finally replied, his voice steadier than he felt. As they took their seats, he discerned the tension woven through the air. His father glanced up from the meticulously folded napkin, eyebrow arched in curiosity. "What's on your mind, son?" Taking a deep breath, he plunged into his confession. "I've been looking into our family history and the foundation it was built upon," he began, the words flowing with the urgency of a dam breaking. "I want to take our business into a new direction, one that reflects genuine social responsibility, not just profitability." Silence enveloped the table, each moment stretching like an elastic band ready to snap. Their faces shifted from surprise to discomfort, his father's polite veneer slowly crumbling. "Why would you want to tarnish what we've built?" his father retorted, impatience seeping from his tone. "The Thompsons are respected for their financial acumen, not their fleeting ideals." "Dad, it's more than that," Adam pressed, emboldened by Maria's words. "Respect comes from doing meaningful work, contributing to the society that supports us. What if we could create campaigns or initiatives that align our business with real change?" His mother interjected softly, her voice quivering with concern. "Adam, this isn't a game. You need to understand the responsibility that comes with the family name. We've earned this privilege through hard work. Are you ready to risk it?" The gravity of her question hit Adam like a punch. Risk. It was the very definition of growth, yet the fear of losing everything he knew was an anchor pulling him under. He could see the look in their eyes, fear that their legacy might fade amidst trends and societal shifts. "What if we don't risk it now while we have the opportunity?" he countered, rallying every ounce of conviction within him. "Is it better to cling to our status while the world changes around us, or can we embrace it and use our influence for good?" The silence lengthened, pressing against his chest. Sweat trickled down his spine as he acutely felt their doubt morphing into an insistent pressure. How deeply ingrained was their adherence to the status quo? Did they understand the weight of their legacy, so tightly woven with privilege and wealth, required the light of consciousness? He could confront their fears, shatter their delusions, but what about his own? Could he create this visionary path without a roadmap? Adaptive strategies poured into his mind, the possibilities shaping around him like a living entity. Then, his father leaned forward, voice edged with caution. "You think this is easy, Adam? You're grasping at ideas without real understanding. You need to know the implications of every decision." Clarity washed over him, igniting a flicker of hope amidst the storm. "I may not understand all the implications yet, but that's why I need to dive deeper into this. I'm determined to learn, I won't shy away from the work involved." With each word, he felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders, not just for himself but for the legacy he electrified with his vision. This was more than a conversation, it was the defining moment that would guide him. Their reactions shaped him, but he could sculpt his own identity through resistance. The room trembled with the tension of uncertainty. "Let me show you how our brand could drive meaningful engagement. Give me the chance," he implored, his heart racing with vulnerability laid bare before them. But the air thickened again, and the questions began to churn in his mind. How would this path unfold? Would he find support within the very foundation that stood at odds with his ambitions? The silence returned, but this time it felt breathless, charged. What next step would he take, and who would stand with him when he did? In that moment, Adam understood he stood on the precipice of something significant, and yet the unknown loomed ahead, a claustrophobic mix of hope and trepidation. But lingering within him was a surge of courage. He would find the way forward. He had to. The challenge had only begun. In the days that followed, Adam found himself tangled in a whirlwind of emotions and a flood of thoughts. He could still picture the discomfort etched on his parents' faces, the way their silent disapproval had weighed down his resolve. Yet in the quiet moments of introspection, a fire ignited within him, urging him to forge ahead despite the obstacles that loomed. Armed with newfound determination, Adam immersed himself in research. He spent nights poring over articles and case studies on social entrepreneurship, examining how businesses successfully navigated the rocky terrain of ethical responsibility while remaining profitable. During the day, he met with representatives from local nonprofits and civic leaders eager to engage in dialogue about their work and the potential benefits of corporate partnerships. Each conversation broadened his understanding, illuminating the nuances of balancing profit and purpose. Still, doubts persisted, gnawing at the edges of his consciousness. Could he truly convince his family to support an initiative that diverged so sharply from their traditional business practices? Deep down, he wrestled with the fear that he might alienate the very family he yearned to impress. The conflict was tangible. Adam stood at the crossroads between a chasm filled with family expectations and a burgeoning sense of self that screamed for authenticity. One evening, while sketching out plans in the corner of a dim cafe, he overheard a conversation between two women behind him. They spoke of a nonprofit that had successfully partnered with a major corporation to develop an educational program for underserved communities. The idea struck him like a lightning bolt, tangible proof that it wasn't just about abstract ideals, it could be a roadmap to success. Fueled by inspiration, he tapped into his network, reaching out to industry leaders willing to discuss collaborative projects. At a subsequent meeting, he met Claire, a savvy marketing professional with a relentless drive for social change. Her insights and innovative strategies ignited a spark in him. "You need a clear vision," she urged, "something both your family and the community can rally around." And then it clicked. He didn't merely want his family to accept change, he needed to demonstrate how their legacy could thrive in this new landscape. He envisioned a campaign that revitalized not just their company but their entire brand, a program linking their business with educational initiatives, mentorship for young entrepreneurs, and investments in local communities. With renewed urgency, he crafted a detailed proposal outlining the potential benefits to both their bottom line and their reputation. He documented the stories of businesses that had undergone similar transformations, showing how purpose-driven enterprises enjoyed not just customer loyalty but increased profitability. What he had missed in his initial discussions was showcasing the potential to preserve their family legacy while also adapting and thriving. Yet, in the back of his mind, a nagging worry persisted. What if this effort failed? What if his parents' fears materialized, proving he was merely chasing illusions rather than building on a solid foundation? But deep down, Adam knew the essence of true leadership lay in facing these fears, understanding that setbacks were not the end but rather stepping stones towards growth. Convinced he was onto something, Adam called for a family meeting, determined to extend his vision beyond mere words. He invited Claire along as support, a fresh perspective to counterbalance his family's preconceived notions. As the day approached, he grappled with a tempest of anticipation and anxiety, questioning whether he could rally both conviction and vulnerability in front of the people who mattered most. Could this meeting be the pivotal moment of transformation he was longing for, or would it drive a wedge between his ambitions and familial ties, forever altering the landscape of their relationships? With the clock ticking down, Adam braced himself for the confrontation that lay ahead. He had to believe in his vision, despite the uncertainties. The challenge now was clear: he needed to navigate the delicate intersection of aspiration and reality. Would this be the moment that catalyzed change, or would he find himself back at square one, defeated and doubting once more? As he prepared, a new urgency surged through him. Whatever happened next could alter the course of his life forever, but it was time to confront his family with more than just ideas, a united vision. The moment of truth was fast approaching, and he could feel the weight of possibility bearing down on him. Could he bridge the divide, or was this the beginning of an even deeper conflict? Adam clenched his fists in silent resolve, knowing only one thing was certain: the time had come to face their legacy and his own future. Adam entered the family dining room, a place that had long been a sanctuary of hearty discussions and laughter, but now felt more like an arena for a looming confrontation. The polished table gleamed under soft lighting, setting a scene that danced between warmth and chill. He took a breath, grounding himself, reminding himself that he had spent countless hours preparing for this moment. While trepidation gnawed at him, he found strength in clarity. He wasn't merely seeking approval, he was advocating for a shared vision that could redefine their legacy. His parents were already seated, their expressions a mix of curiosity and concern. The air was thick with unspoken questions, and Adam sensed the weight of their expectations pressing down on him. Would they see the merit in his plans, or would they hold steadfast to tradition? "Thanks for making time for this," Adam began, choosing his words intentionally. He noticed Claire standing slightly behind him, her presence a subtle reminder of the support that had buoyed his spirit in recent weeks. "Aren't you a bit old for such theatrics, Adam?" His father interjected, a familiar note of skepticism in his voice. "Just because a friend advocated for change doesn't mean it's right." "Dad, I can't." Adam hesitated, feeling the familiar swell of defensiveness creeping in. He took a deeper breath, letting it wash over him like a wave, forcing himself to remain calm. "I'm not asking you to abandon what we've built. I'm asking you to consider how we can evolve. To adapt." His mother's silence pressed against his resolve. He shifted his focus to Claire, nodding for her to speak. She stepped forward, eyes bright and poised. "Every great company faces pivotal moments," she began, aligning her words with the heartbeat of his vision. "What we propose is a partnership that brings value not just to your business but to the community as well. It's about building a future that honors your family's heritage while embracing innovation." Adam's heart raced, her confidence was contagious, and he felt the growing heat of conviction swell within him. He shared the statistics he had gathered, stories of companies that had transformed their trajectories by integrating social responsibility into their core values. Companies that take the lead in ethical practices are not just surviving, they're thriving, he asserted. "We could be a beacon for change in our industry." Yet, as he spoke, doubt flickered across his parents' faces, particularly his father's, who folded his arms defiantly. "You speak of change, Adam, but do you really understand the risks? This isn't some academic exercise. It's our business, the family legacy." Those words hung heavily in the air. Adam felt indignation flare within him, a fire ignited by the very doubt that had held him captive for so long. It was a struggle balancing the desire for acceptance with the need for authenticity. "I do understand the risks. But what's more dangerous? Stagnation in a world that demands progress." His voice held a steadiness he hadn't known it could. Silence enveloped them, his parents exchanging cautious glances. Each second felt interminable, and just when Adam feared he had lost them, a flicker of curiosity danced through his mother's eyes. "What do you propose, exactly?" she finally asked, a hint of reluctance edging her tone, yet something warmer sparking below the surface. Adam's heart leaped. This was a crucial pivot, the door had cracked open. Imagine a mentorship program in partnership with local schools, offering internships and training for young entrepreneurs. He felt the urgency surge again. An investment not only in profit but in people, securing our future while uplifting others. For our family, it could mean relevance and respect into the next generation. His father's brow furrowed deep in thought. "You're asking us to trust your vision while risking everything we've built?" Behind the menacing tough facade, Adam caught a glimpse of something human: vulnerability. This was not just about business, it was about his father's fears of failing to uphold the family's legacy. Adam felt a pang of empathy. "I am asking you to take a chance, just as those before us have." The atmosphere shifted, the tension palpable, as walls began to crack under the pressure of possibility. Adam realized then that it wasn't just about making his case, it required him to understand the roots of their fear. Beyond the boardroom discussions, there lay a personal tale entwined with their enterprise. Yet, before he could expand on this epiphany, the doorbell rang, slicing through the moment like a knife. Adam's heart sank, a premonition coiling around him. Would this be the interruption they needed to retreat back into traditional confines? As his mother stood to answer the door, Adam took a steadying breath. Whatever awaited him behind that door might redefine everything they had just begun to explore. Would it solidify his plea or unravel it completely? The uncertainty hung over him like a storm cloud, ready to unleash chaos or clarity. All he could do was stand firm, preparing for whatever revelation came next. The door creaked open, and a figure stepped into the room that Adam hadn't anticipated, a waitress from the local cafe they frequently visited, her uniform slightly wrinkled but her expression earnest. Instinctively, he felt a knot tighten in his stomach. Had she come to deliver some trivial order from his past? "Excuse me, Mr. Henderson," she began, her voice steady despite the disarray of her unexpected entrance. "I hope it's not too intrusive, but I heard your name mentioned while I was serving tables, and I thought you might want to hear something." His parents' gazes flicked toward her, a blend of confusion and suspicion painting their faces. Adam's own expression must have mirrored theirs. He felt like he stood at a crossroad, where an unannounced visitor threatened to disrupt everything he had worked so painstakingly to articulate. "What is this about?" his father asked, voice straining against the tension that had already settled upon the dining room like a heavy blanket. "It's about the project." The waitress took a cautious step forward, her gaze flickering between Adam and his parents. "The one you were just talking about. I've heard conversations from many customers about how important it is to create opportunities for those who don't have them. Young people in this town crave mentorship and support, yet it's so hard for them to find." Adam could scarcely believe what he was hearing. Her words seemed to entwine around his thoughts like a lifeline, amplifying his vision just as it flickered with doubt. It was as if the universe had sent him validation at just the right moment. "Thank you for your input," Adam said, the air thick with disbelief. "But why do you care about this?" The waitress hesitated, her fortitude momentarily wavering. "Because I used to be one of those kids. I was lucky enough to have someone help me find my footing before I got lost in the system. I've seen too many promising youth fall through the cracks without hope." Moments passed, and she steadied herself. "I believe in what you're proposing, and I know it could change lives." Adam's heart raced, the power of her testimony crashing over him like a wave, washing away the uncertainty that had threatened to swallow him whole. His father's dismissive demeanor faltered as he processed this unexpected endorsement. The room simmered with tension anew, a veil unpeeling as unseen connections solidified between them. "Change is never easy," his mother finally spoke, her voice laced with newfound understanding. "But perhaps we need to re-examine what our legacy truly means to us, and to others." The waitress looked around at their faces, searching for any glimpse of hope. "I think this could be a starting point. Collaborating with local businesses to create internships or work-study opportunities isn't just good for the company but also strengthens the community. You redefine your legacy while making a tangible difference." Adam saw a flicker in his father's posture, a subtle relaxation. The guarded line of his mouth softened slightly, not fully relinquishing skepticism but not outright dismissing it either. It was progress, however small. "Let us not jump to conclusions just yet," his father said cautiously, his voice steadier but still weighted with reluctance. "We'll need a plan, proof that this is viable. Can you present this to us in a more formal setting?" The waitress nodded, and Adam's heart swelled with hope. This moment could become a catalyst not only for his aspirations but also for others like the waitress who had dared to speak up. He felt a surge of gratitude toward her bravery. The conversation shifted, from exploration and hesitance to a collaborative effort brewing in real time. Adam realized that facing opposition was more than a professional hurdle, it was also an invitation to dig deeper into his own roots and values. It was a moment to understand that legacy wasn't solely about honor and tradition, but was fundamentally about impact and connection. As the waitress began to outline her thoughts, sketching plans that resonated with the effect of mentorship on future generations, Adam sensed a gravity in the room, a collective awakening. And as he glanced at his parents, a vision blossomed. He could see the glimmer of possibility dawning in their eyes, a path unfolding that he hadn't anticipated. In that instant, a realization settled in: he needed to confront not just his parents' fears, but the barriers within himself: doubt, hesitance, and the urge to seek validation at any cost. With the quiet tumult inside him, the door to self-discovery swung wide open. Then it struck him. What if there were more whispered truths to uncover? What else lay beyond the surface, lurking below the facade of tradition that dictated his family's path? "Can you tell me more about your story?" he asked the waitress, his curiosity piqued anew. What other hidden truths might emerge from the unlikeliest of places? The waitress regarded Adam with sincerity, her brow furrowing slightly as she considered how to share her story. "It's not really about me," she began, but Adam could sense the weight of her past as she drew in a breath, seeking the right words. "I grew up in a tough situation. My parents worked multiple jobs just to keep a roof over our heads. There was little time or energy for guidance. Most days, I felt invisible, lost in a world of adult worries while I was still just a kid." Adam leaned forward, captivated by the raw honesty in her voice. It struck him how her experience mirrored the lives of many he wished to help, tearing down the veil that had kept ideas of privilege and opportunity at bay. "In high school, I had a teacher who noticed me," she continued, her eyes lighting up with gratitude at the memory. "She didn't just teach us, she saw us. She opened her doors for after-school tutoring and always encouraged me to pursue my goals, no matter how unrealistic they seemed to others. Thanks to her, I applied for scholarships and got into college. It was a lifeline for me." As each word tumbled forth, Adam felt an awakening within. The waitress's narrative was more than just a glimpse into her past, it was a blueprint, a model of what he envisioned for his community, an experience filled with hope that lit the path for so many others. He envisioned mentorship programs not merely as opportunities but as bridges, connecting the lost with the guides they desperately needed. "What can we do to create that here?" he thought, the question simmering within him. His parents, once skeptical, remained quietly attentive. Perhaps they were beginning to understand the gravity of this shared narrative. Adam shot a glance at his mother, whose expression now reflected curiosity rather than critique. "One step would be to incorporate experiences like mine into the framework of what you're proposing," the waitress advised, shifting her tone to that of a mentor, guiding someone through their early journey. "You need to engage directly with local youth. Listen to their stories. Find out what they need before you design any programs. It could transform everything." "Engagement," Adam repeated, testing the word on his tongue as if it were a key that might unlock new possibilities. It felt like the cornerstone of his vision, the intimate connection each person craved. What if partnerships with schools resulted not just in internships, but workshops, safe spaces for vulnerable conversations about dreams and struggles? He pictured sessions brimming with life, energy flowing between mentors and ments, laughter punctuating the air like arrows of hope. Each interaction would become the lifeblood of this endeavor, a chance for transformation, for all involved. The waitress seemed to sense Adam's surge of determination. "You'll need the right people on board, though," she advised, her voice back to its steady, grounded tone. "Those who genuinely care about the youth and aren't just here for a reputation." In his heart, Adam felt the stirrings of clarity. He needed to surround himself with good-hearted people, both those who had risen from hard conditions and those who understood the weight of privilege. It would take a village to build bridges that could, in turn, sew the fabric of community. As the conversation wore on, Adam began jotting down notes, capturing ideas that cascaded from the waitress's experiences. The room buzzed with newfound possibility, a tense anticipation of what could emerge from this coming collaboration. And yet, in the back of his mind, a sense of urgency thudded, a quiet alarm urging him to act while this momentum thrived. This was only the beginning, but challenges would lie ahead. The apprehension nagged at him. What if he failed to deliver on such a fragile yet promising vision? I need to take action, he affirmed, standing a little taller, pushing his chair back. But I will need more than just the stories, I need a real plan. The waitress nodded, a smile of affirmation gracing her face. Let us outline the next steps together. There's so much potential in this room. And then it came to him. Each plan, each interaction rooted in authenticity, felt like unearthing a treasure hidden beneath layers of apathy. He could no longer be passive, he had to confront his own journey, as well. What about your journey? You've inspired me to embrace change. But what hurdles did you face after college? He pressed, ready to dive deeper, noticing that understanding the past would only solidify his future endeavors. This conversation held keys not just to their collective vision but to Adam's own evolution as well. As they spoke, Adam sensed their world shifting with the weight of their discussions. With each question came a new piece of the puzzle. The next step beckoned tantalizingly to him, an unknown path stretching ahead, filled with promise and uncertainty. What other discoveries about his capacity for growth awaited him just beyond the horizon? Adam's curiosity intensified as the waitress began to share her hurdles after college. Her voice was laced with a mix of vulnerability and strength, each syllable imbued with the lessons she had learned from experience. After I graduated, I thought I had it all figured out, she confessed. But the reality hit hard. I got a degree, but it didn't magically open doors. I applied to countless jobs, each rejection felt like another weight pulling me down. Her gaze dropped momentarily, grounded in the memory of disillusionment. I realized quickly that just having qualifications wasn't enough. This resonated deeply with Adam. He could practically feel the echoes of his own insecurities reflected in her words. He had come from a privileged background, yet those very privileges made it hard for him to relate to rejection in the same visceral way. But that was precisely the challenge he needed to confront. So how did you find your way? He asked, his voice steadier than he felt. What had been her crucial turning point as she navigated this path littered with obstacles? It was a combination of grit and support, she replied, brightening as she recounted her experiences. I found a part-time job while still searching for full-time work. That job taught me skills I didn't realize I needed, connected me with people who genuinely believed in me. But more importantly, I learned the value of community. The waitress paused, allowing the weight of her words to settle in the space between them. Adam scribbled furiously in his notebook, each word compelling him forward. Community, he had intuited it was vital but hadn't fully grasped its transformative power until now. What did that look like for you? Adam pressed, his mind racing with thoughts on how he might integrate this insight into his own plans. It started with finding people who shared my vision. We became a group that uplifted each other, shared job leads, and provided emotional support. But it didn't come easy. I had to let go of my pride. Asking for help felt like admitting I was weak, but it turned out to be liberating. Listening to her, Adam felt a stirring within, a realization that his inclination to undertake this journey alone was an obstacle in itself. What if he opened himself up to vulnerability? What if admitting he didn't have all the answers might unleash new possibilities for collaboration? Letting go of pride, he murmured thoughtfully. It sounded daunting yet necessary. If he intended to stir change in his community, he would need to dismantle the walls that had prevented connection all along. Seeing Adam's epiphany unfold, the waitress tilted her head, encouraging him to continue digging deeper. And what about you? Do you feel isolated in your ambitions? Her question cut through him. He hadn't fully acknowledged how isolating his goals felt. The clear path laid before him, dictated by familial expectations, had inadvertently stifled his own voice. Yeah, I guess I do, he admitted, feeling a knot in his chest loosen slightly. I'm often afraid of what my decisions mean for my family and whether I can really make an impact without losing who I am. The waitress nodded sympathetically, her presence nudged him toward clarity. It's a balancing act. Being true to yourself is essential, but don't forget, collaboration can be enriching. Sharing your doubts might invite the support you need. A surge of clarity washed over him. Suddenly, everything became sharper: the mission, the need for partnership, the importance of mutual support. This was more than about potential failures, it was about forging connections and learning to lean on others. Maybe I need to gather a group, Adam mused, his voice gaining momentum. I could invite people with various experiences, those who have risen from hardships, those with knowledge to share. We can brainstorm ways to help youth navigate their own paths. If we can start there. The waitress's smile widened, she saw the dawn glinting in his eyes. Yes, and don't hesitate to reach out to people who might challenge your ideas. Diverse perspectives are crucial. As Adam soaked in her encouragement, a sense of urgency unfurled inside him. The path ahead shimmered with promise, yet he was acutely aware of the gravity of his contemplations. So, what about the challenges we might face when we get people together? He asked, suddenly aware that alongside potential allies, he could also attract skepticism. Would they welcome change, or would it be met with resistance? Her expression turned contemplative, a shared anxiety flickering in her eyes. Rejection is a natural part of any collaborative effort. But your determination to create a space where everyone feels valued can make a monumental difference. As Adam left the cafe that day, a storm of ambition surged through him. The path ahead bristled with uncertainty, but he felt fortified, not just by ideas but by the prospect of camaraderie. Embracing vulnerability wasn't just a personal endeavor, it was a key element that could very well tip the scales toward success. Determined, he ran through a mental checklist for crafting this initiative. He envisioned a room full of stories, of strength drawn from shared struggles. However, in his heart, a tremor of doubt lingered. What if he couldn't cultivate that spirit of community? What if those he reached out to weren't interested in connecting? In that moment, the next profound realization struck him. His journey was only beginning, but every step would demand his authenticity, the very essence that could either fuel or extinguish the dreams he harbored deep within. But how would he muster the courage to face the inevitable dissonance that might threaten to unravel it all? He awoke the following morning tangled in thought. The waitress's words echoed like a mantra in his mind: let go of pride, ask for help, embrace community. Adam blinked away the remnants of sleep and swung his legs over the edge of the bed, grounding himself in the reality of his ambition. His mind raced as he drafted potential strategies to reach out to others for support. Who could he approach? What should he say? The images of possible allies flooded his consciousness: peers from university who had faced their own struggles, local entrepreneurs who had achieved in spite of the odds. Each name centered on a different aspect of resilience, talent, and tenacity. Would they be willing to invest their time and ideas in this unformed vision? As he rushed through his morning routine, questions proliferated. How could he convince them that this venture was worth their energy? How would he frame the concept to resonate with experiences they had already faced? He knew he needed more than just a half-formed idea, he needed a compelling message that evoked a sense of possibility and urgency. Deciding on a coffee shop as his first meeting place, Adam walked through a landscape transformed by the early sun. Light glinted off glass storefronts, reflecting both his anticipation and his fear. He had chosen this cafe purposefully. He hoped the somewhat communal atmosphere would foster open dialogues. It felt like a small step, but any journey began with one, didn't it? Arriving a little early, he took a moment to observe the interactions around him. The barista exchanged jokes with regulars while students huddled over laptops, their screens glowing with the sparks of new ideas. Adam felt a sinking sense of awe. He was part of this dynamic world, but he still hovered on its outskirts. He was the one who needed to make that leap toward authenticity. When his first contact, Jess, arrived, a friend from college who had taken a non-traditional path, she seemed open and enthusiastic. They exchanged pleasantries before Adam segued into the core of his ambition. I want to create a project to help young people navigate some of the challenges they face as they enter adulthood, he began, feeling an odd thrill at articulating his vision. I was thinking how impactful it would be to gather diverse experiences, a safe space for sharing stories and strategies. Jess leaned in, curiosity sparked, but her expression also reflected caution. That sounds interesting, but what makes you think people would want to join you? What's in it for them? The question struck him, a sharp reminder that genuine collaboration was built on mutual interest. He hesitated, body tightening at the prospect of rejection. Would he lose momentum before he even gained support? I believe they want to share their experiences and help others like they once needed help, he replied, choosing conviction over uncertainty. But you have to make it tangible. Why should they invest their time? What will they gain? The challenge in her voice pushed Adam, igniting a flame of determination within him. He had to think beyond himself and his insecurities. The value he offered needed clarity. Maybe we could set up workshops or even mentorship programs. Sharing knowledge could empower them as much as it would empower others. We learn when we teach, right? With every word, he felt a little more comfortable in his skin, embracing the nervous energy as fuel. Jess nodded, her skepticism giving way to intrigue. It takes a lot of work to put a group like that together. Do you have a plan for getting started? The fact that she was asking demonstrated a pivot in her engagement. But now Adam's mind buzzed with new worries. How would he coordinate schedules? What resources would he need? The requirements expanded before him like a labyrinth, each turn deeper than the last. Friendships and connections could serve as the bedrock for his initiative, but he realized that he was still vulnerable to the ghosts of his doubt. The worries had shifted. Instead of fearing rejection outright, he began questioning his own capabilities in execution. Yeah, I have some ideas, he replied, though uncertainty knotted his gut. But I'll need volunteers. This isn't a solo effort. Find the right people, she emphasized. You'll need to connect with more than just your network. Reach out beyond your usual circles to find those untapped voices. He felt invigorated by the challenge, as if her suggestion had opened a door he didn't know existed. There was an entire world beyond his known sphere, filled with untold stories waiting to be linked with his vision. As they parted ways, Adam's head spun with the countless decisions now before him. He felt drawn toward each potential contact like puzzle pieces waiting to connect. Yet, the specter of isolation loomed. The very thing he sought to remedy might also haunt him as he reached for coordination and authenticity. He sighed, contemplating the daunting task ahead, but the flicker of purpose was undeniable. There would be resistance, and he would again have to face the possibility of failure. But he was no longer the same Adam. He had glimpsed the energy generated from collaborative ideas, the amplification of voices, and now he had to seize that momentum. What he didn't yet realize was how soon a confrontation with his family might force him to choose between expectations and his emerging vision. With their beliefs battling against his growing determination, Adam found himself at a crossroads that would lead to significant personal upheaval. In the days that followed, Adam Thompson fully embraced the momentum he had ignited. Fueled by the waitress's words and bolstered by his burgeoning connections, he focused intently on shaping his vision into a concrete initiative. He reached out to friends, former classmates, and even local business leaders to gauge interest. The concept quickly evolved into Bridge the Gap, a support initiative designed to empower underprivileged youth through mentorship, hands-on workshops, and real-world experiences. With each meeting, Adam felt his confidence solidifying. He began gathering stories from potential participants, each anecdote patching together the narrative of resilience that characterized their paths. These stories, once mere echoes of inspiration, transformed into the foundation upon which he would build his initiative. He was no longer just Adam Thompson, the billionaire's son. He became a catalyst for change, deeply committed to forging connections. On a crisp autumn afternoon, he convened a larger meeting at the cafe where it all began. A diverse crowd filled the room: young entrepreneurs, educators, and advocates for social change. Their shared excitement was palpable as each voice added depth to the agenda, creating a tapestry woven from individual experiences and ideas. Adam floated the idea of creating an incubator space where young people could develop their projects and skills, encouraging a spirit of collaboration that could redefine their futures. As Adam articulated his vision, he felt an authenticity coursing through him. This was no longer a performance to gain approval, it was a mission he genuinely believed in. He couldn't help but notice the shift in dynamics as people rallied around the idea, inspired by the potential for genuine impact. Finally, they weren't just discussing change, the air buzzed with the promise of action and a tangible pathway toward a better future. However, as enthusiasm gathered momentum outside, a storm brewed at home. His parents, skeptical yet concerned, summoned him for another family meeting. Adam entered the familiar dining room, but instead of feeling anxious, he absorbed strength from the support he had cultivated through his recent endeavors. He was prepared to confront the fears that had long been shackled to his identity. "Let's talk about what you've been doing, Adam," his father initiated, adopting a guarded tone. "We've heard whispers about your plans to start a mentorship initiative. Many have voiced concerns." "Dad, this is important," Adam interjected without hesitation, surprising himself with his certainty. "I want to do something meaningful, something that speaks to both our legacy and the community that has given us so much." "Meaningful? Or idealistic?" his father challenged, skepticism coloring his brows. "People will question why we would align our name with initiative over profitability. They expect more of the Thompsons." Adam held his ground. "They will also see us as innovators, as leaders willing to adapt and bring value. Change is inevitable, and if we don't embrace authenticity, we lose relevance." His mother's expression shifted, a flicker of concern reflecting in her eyes. "Your plans risk tarnishing the family name. Can you truly build something that lasts?" Wordlessly, Adam flashed back through the stories he had heard of triumph born from hardship, of impacts made through authentic connections. "Yes, I can," he replied with resolution. "Change is the cost of stagnation. This will not only preserve our legacy, it has the potential to enhance it." Pausing to gauge their reactions, a deep silence enveloped the room. Adam seized the moment and introduced his findings, showcasing the support he had garnered. He shared data underscoring the shared interest in corporate responsibility among consumers. The very fabric of business was shifting, and he was intent on standing at the forefront. "Community not only strengthens but becomes a vessel for our legacy," he surmised, studying their expressions. "We can either cling to tradition or redefine it. I choose the latter. If we focus on the connections we foster, we can leave a legacy that will inspire future generations." In that moment, a shift occurred, the resistance from his parents began to crack, unveiling glimpses of curiosity mingled with the apprehension. They exchanged glances, considering the prospect he proposed. And Adam sensed strength in that uncertainty and opportunity. Adam leaned forward, his voice softer yet unyielding. "Let me show you how this could thrive within our family's name. I invite you to be a part of this, to reshape what we stand for together." The silence held a tentative hope, a willingness to open dialogue rather than retreat into silence. The energy around the table was transforming, and Adam absorbed the richness of the moment, a flavor of potential blossoming, opening up new avenues. As the days rolled forward, tangible changes began to ripple through the Thompson legacy. The family engaged in discussions about how best to integrate the initiative into their corporate structure, exploring strategies to enhance involvement while maintaining business acumen. Each conversation illustrated their willingness to transcend past traditions, replacing them instead with a forward-thinking vision. In a short period, the Bridge the Gap initiative flourished, workshops blossomed, connections were made, and young lives began to flourish with new possibilities. Adam's heart swelled with satisfaction as he witnessed tangible impacts, a testament to the importance of authenticity. The person he had become was no longer defined solely by his last name, he had cultivated his own identity firmly rooted in purpose. And standing before a community that had embraced him, he felt the fullness of personal achievement wash over him. This was more than a professional breakthrough, it represented his evolution, encompassing newfound confidence and competence. He had embraced his legacy, redefined it, and in doing so, he found his voice. The sense of completion settled deeply within him. Adam Thompson had conquered the doubts that once held him captive. The bridge connecting privilege to purpose had been laid strong, and as the sun dipped beneath the skyline, Adam smiled knowing he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. His story, intertwined with others, had just begun. If you resonate with this journey of transformation and growth, you need to subscribe now to be part of future emotional stories that challenge the boundaries of personal overcoming. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Share your thoughts and reactions and comment below. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this empowering conclusion.